Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and welcome to Mythic Igira the Cruel PTR testing. This boss is the second boss of the raid, and it's actually quite mechanically intensive. So basically there will be these main phases, which will always end with the boss doing two sets of these Blistering Spear casts, and the boss kind of starts right at the end of a main phase. So it'll go Blistering Spears, and then these Blades, and then another set of Spears. And the Spears do like 250k AoE impact damage. So we tried to stack about two people on top of each other with each spear, and that way we could get them nice and tightly spawned, get them cleaved down, but they wouldn't one-shot anybody. If somebody stacked three of them, it would do a lot of damage. Now, it doesn't do too much damage to stand within the ground, but if you're still tethered to your spear, you get stunned and pulled back if you ever try and leave or if you get knocked out of it. So we did want to kill those as quickly as possible to get that bleeding handled, to get that damage handled, rather. Then in these intermission phases, you want to soak one of the three torments. And basically, each of the torments has an ability that's associated with it. On Heroic, whichever torment you activate gives the boss that ability. On Mythic, whichever torment you activate gives the boss the other two abilities. So you have to deal with both of the other two. So we soaked green, the middle one, which here is going to mean that we now have the abilities of blue and purple, the side ones. And that's going to mean in this particular phase, we're going to have to deal with a Heartstopper, which affects a bunch of players with a huge healing absorb. Those people are spreading out because when that heal absorb gets healed off of them, they'll do AoE damage around them, and they'll shoot out these projectiles, these orb projectiles. The other mechanic that the boss is empowered with is a big circle soak. Now, this circle soak, we handled the first one by just having our tank solo it with spell warding, and me actually run out. And the way it works is if you do soak, you get stunned for 10 seconds, and you're splitting 2.4 million Shadow Flame among everybody who's soaking. And if you don't soak, you instead get a nasty bleed. It's not that nasty, but it does stack. So the second one's coming out, and again, me and the other tank are soaking this, and just using a defensive to live, and most people are staying out. And you can see a lot of people have two stacks of that debuff, and are now immuning it off or getting Evoke or Bleed dispelled. Some people are still going to just be sitting that two stack, though, and that's why we decided to do this phase early in the fight, was so that we could try and do this most healing intensive part early rather than late in the fight. We found this was the hardest overlap. And then especially here, if you get speared, which again, the spears always happen at the end of each of these main phases, if you get speared while you have two stacks of bleed, very hurty. So that was why we saw people spreading out and often soloing rather than double stacking even. And you can see the health bars here. A lot of danger. This was very healing intensive phase. Every time the boss does an intermission, it gets 10% health for the rest of the or 10% damage increase for the rest of the fight as well. So we really wanted this overlap to be done early rather than late in the fight. So now here comes the second marked for Torment, and this time around we activated the blue side, which means that we are not getting the slam. So there's no soak, no bleeds, none of that stuff, no stuns. But we're still going to get that healing absorb that needs to get healed through and shoots out the projectiles. And the other mechanic that we're also going to get is the boss jumping around. And the boss will jump twice, shoot out a bunch of Rashok-style waves, like Rashok intermission swirlies, I guess, rather, is a better way to describe it. And yeah, basically, this was a pretty easy combination of abilities to handle. Again, you just kind of spread out, get healed, dodge the swirlies, and try not to get hit by the boss, by those slams, and then that's all there was to it. You can see we accidentally killed our warrior there with the tank mechanic, which it's like a sludge fist tank mechanic where the tank and the closest person to them both get hit. And the boss is also stacking up a bleed on the active tank, so you want to be swapping tanks to avoid that going too high, which I kind of did a bad job here. You can see my co-tank is going up to 8. 8 stacks is kind of normal, but much higher than that is it starts to get pretty hurty, so I definitely should have taunted by now already. I was looking at a lot of other stuff, and I caused a lot of pain to my co-tank on our pulls here. As you can see, that those stacks going up to 11 now, causing quite a bit of damage to our prop paladin. But yeah, so after 2 casts of the boss's empowered abilities, we get to the end of the main phase again, which means we're going to get 2 casts of spears, and then we're going back to the next intermission. So again, we've got these spears nice and stacked up. No bleed stacks on everybody, so it's a lot easier to manage this time around. And we just get those spears nice and cleaved down, have everybody swap to them. Spears kind of were always the priority. If you're looking at the damage meters, by the way, on this fight, the damage meters were not correctly, they weren't counting damage done to spears. I'll put a link in the description to a a filter on Warcraft logs that lets you see the spear damage. And if you look at that, it's actually a lot of the classes that are at the bottom of the overall here are doing like top spear damage. It's just not showing up on details. Windwalker, for instance, doing very big damage to those spears. So don't read too much into those damage meters. Never read too much into PTR damage meters anyways. But yeah, so now we're going to activate the purple one, which means we're not going to get the boss, the heal absorb, but we are going to get the boss jumping around, and we're going to get the big soak circle that does split damage. Now, this time around, because we're not getting that healing absorb, we can just have everybody soak it and get stunned. And what we're doing is on the first one, we're using 3 Mass Dispels to Mass Dispel all those stuns because they are magic dispellable. And then on the second one, we're just going to hit Revival and break everybody out this way. So this is our plan, is everybody soak, get Mass Dispelled out of this, and bang, you can see all those stuns are now gone, and everybody is chilling, and we just dodge these. Trivial difficulty to dodge these as long as you get dispelled quickly. This is the easiest combination of mechanics that we found, assuming it was really nice that we had the 3 Master Spells and the Revival. The Revival was really big for making this feel easy. If we didn't have the Revival, we'd probably just take a stack of the Bleed on everybody, and that would also be doable, but it was really nice to just do this, and again, you can see everybody's going to stack, get stunned, and then bang, Revival. Easy, handled, no bleeds left around, very, very manageable mechanic, and we kind of tried to do this when the healing absorbs were out, but the problem was, like, Revival alone wouldn't break the healing absorb and cause the projectiles to fire, but, like, Revival plus people's self-healing, like Bloodthirst, was causing that to happen, and so that's why we decided to do the strat we did on the first one instead. But I could definitely see it being possible that you want to try and do that slam the same way, even with the healing absorbs out, and then just quickly spread and get healed. It required a lot of precision, though, and we decided to kind of just brute force with healing throughput instead in P1. And then once you get to this point, you're just trying to kill the boss. We didn't actually see exactly what it looks like at the Enrage here, because we were trying to kill the boss before the raid testing ended. This was right at the end of our hour. And what I think is going to happen here is the boss is just going to jump towards the middle of the room, start another cast of the Racking Torment, and then, or the Mark for Torment, and if this cast finishes, I think then it will basically wipe you, because that's what it does if you don't soak any of the Torments, and of course, all the Torments are gone, so you can't soak any of them there. But we were able to secure the kill before that would happen. And that was it. That was Mythic Igira the Cruel, second boss. Pretty cool one, actually. Pretty interesting. It was kind of a fun puzzle to solve. Definitely a lot of technical intensity for a second boss. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets toned down somewhat before this comes out, because well, I mean, I liked it, but it's definitely, for so early in the raid, it seems like it will probably be a big step up in difficulty from the first boss, and then there will be a big step down in difficulty if you go over to, like, Council, for instance, after this, is my guess, unless the numbers are tuned to be pretty trivial. Anyways, that was Igira the Cruel Mythic. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.